All right, welcome everybody to the March edition of the Kentuckiana FileMaker Developers Group. We're glad you're all here. If you are watching us on YouTube, be sure and join us in person the fourth Tuesday of every month. It starts at 11:30 Eastern Time, where we come in and say hi and get to know each other. We'd love to have more in-person participation. Anybody who's interested in anything related to FileMaker is welcome, and doesn't matter skill level or skill set. Uh, all are welcome. Be sure and drop by and join us for the live uh, broadcast fourth Tuesday of every month, and that's at kyfmp.com. This month we have Dennis Burnham, and he is going to be introducing us to possibly a new text messaging service that maybe we haven't seen before or may not be familiar with. But he's going to show us how to use that service and integrate with FileMaker to be able to send text messages. So we'll go ahead and turn it over to Dennis. Dennis, it's all yours.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you, everybody else, for attending today. Initially, when I agreed to do this session about text messaging, I didn't have enough to fill up what would normally be the time that you carve out for the user group meeting. But after I added the application that I made to the Claris marketplace, I decided a few days ago to turn it into an add-on. And so part of what I'm going to be showing you today is some things that I've learned that may be useful to you about making add-ons. And let me see, what key do I have to use to begin? So we'll begin with advice that I got from my father long ago, telling me nothing is free. And that definitely applies to sending text messages. But there's one exception that I call almost free, and that is you can actually send messages using the FileMaker send mail script step if you know the provider that somebody's using for their cell phone. So I've included in the app that I created a table that consists of more than 100 different providers. Now, it may not be up to date. I haven't tested it since a few years ago, but if you just put somebody's number in front of whatever follows the @ symbol, you can actually send text messages from FileMaker Pro using the send mail script step. In the Claris marketplace, when you do a search for what might be available for SMS, you'll find 19 different things. None of them yet are the one that I uploaded. They, for some reason, haven't published it yet in the marketplace, but I'm going to be revising it with the add-on feature, so it's going to have a new version number, and I'll promote it there when that's done. You can also use Claris Connect. Personally, I can't use Claris Connect because I have a site license and it's not yet available for people with site licenses. But you can see that there's a Twilio connector that I imagine some people are going to use. I've done some work with Twilio that was very unsatisfactory, and I'll just tell it to you as a cautionary warning in a moment. There's another application that I found that's called FMSMS, and it gives you all kinds of providers and an easy way to create an account with any one of them. You can see that I've highlighted ClickSend because that's the one that I'm going to be talking to you today about. With Twilio, what happened to me was I started an account with them back in maybe 2015 when I had a client who wanted me to integrate text messaging. And I put $20 into the account, which is required, but I didn't pay attention to the fact that they were going to withdraw $3 from that every single month. And then when I went back to them a few months ago, they told me that I'm not allowed to use them unless I pay up $78.68 because that's my negative balance. And it really pissed me off. I got somebody on the phone and they said, you got $20 from me. I never sent a single message because I couldn't figure out how to use your API. And you've been taking $3 of it every month. As a courtesy, you ought to just crank it back to zero. Keep my $20. They wouldn't do it. So I said goodbye to them and went looking for somebody new. And that's when I found ClickSend. ClickSend is wonderful, and it's so excellent that I thought of presenting it to you today. The way I built the app, it starts with a tutorial, which is a simple master detail layout that has all the subjects that you might want to consider and illustrated explanations of each of them. And it's designed so that if it's an add-on, this would be included when whatever application you drag it into. One of the layouts, actually, it's not another layout. It's there's only one layout, and this is a tab object where you can tab to the home. This is a list of the messages that you've sent, and the other tab is the settings. This is the way the settings look when you open it up. All of these fields that are called your personal settings have to be filled in. When you create an account with ClickSend, you have to register a phone number. There are two ways to do that. One is a local phone number, which costs more than a toll-free. And I guess that's because when people are limiting their text messaging to just their own neighborhood or city, they pay a little bit more for the service that way. But you register your phone number with a toll-free is the way I did it. You get an account number, you get your API key automatically, you insert whatever your mobile phone number is, and they require you to submit, when you're getting that registered phone number, a screenshot of whatever you have on your website for people to opt in, and also whatever you have on your website for people to see your business policy. And it only takes a few days for them to approve your application for that number. If you make note of this URL, and I'll put it in the chat at the end of the session, I've got a few things that I'm going to put in the chat for you. This will give you a bit of a discount. It's a referral code that they assigned to me so that when I present it to other FileMaker developers, they can take advantage of that. Here I have a few slides that just discuss the creating an add-on, and I'm going to run you through those, and then I'll get into the ClickSend application itself. First of all, in the help file that Claris offers, there is a page that discusses the script step that's called Save a Copy as Add-on Package. And when you run that script step, what it does is it creates this add-on package and it puts it into, well, of course, I'm talking about my Mac. I don't have memorized the directory for Windows. Oops. It puts into that directory, which is your user account, your library, your application support, and inside application support, there's a FileMaker directory, and in there's something called extensions, and within that, there's something called add-on modules. And that's where it puts two things. One, it puts the actual add-on that somebody would drag into their FileMaker application. And the other thing it gives you, it puts there a whole bunch of JSON and XML files that make up whatever's in that package. So it gives you the thing that you can email to somebody if you want to just send them the add-on. And because it's in that directory, it shows up in FileMaker Pro whenever you are running it. The description at the bottom of this slide describes, there's the Windows directory, so I didn't have to memorize it. I forgot that that's in there. And it gives you an explanation here of what you'll find in those directories. Claris has this 10-page PDF document that you can find in the help file. It's one of the little links that they have at the bottom of the page that describes the add-on. And that 10-page PDF document is really good to the extent that it explains the things that otherwise seem to be a mystery. But I will caution you that there are some defects. And particularly, I'm aware of the one that's caused by grouping. And I can demonstrate that to you today. The video that Todd Geist made, I guess it's now, we're almost 6 years ago, he explained in that video a defect that had to do with button bars, where apparently when you make an add-on, it was doing something defective with button bars. But if you made the buttons individual instead of in a button bar, it was okay. I've been in communication with Claris to try to find out, did they ever fix that? Are there any other defects that we should know about? And I have not gotten a clear answer for more than a year now. There's also another video that the Atlanta user group did a few weeks after Todd made his video. So that one may be of benefit to you as well. When you make an add-on, you've got to have one layout with this particular specific name. And if you were doing it for foreign languages, then the end of the layout name wouldn't be EN for English. It would be whatever the language is, like DE for German, for example. And everything on that layout has to be grouped. And that's the bug that I'm referring to. Sometimes when you group things, some of the members of the group don't work. So you have to experiment with it to find out whether your grouping is successful or not. And if for some reason it's not, then you may have to break apart things like the button bar. So what's in the folder that I described before, the add-on modules, is this distributable package. That's the thing that people, that's the thing that shows up when people open FileMaker Pro and the add-on is already in that folder. That's also the thing that you can send to somebody, and when they drag that into their folder, it will allow them to put it into FileMaker's layout. They build 3 icons using whatever icon you may have created in file options. And this info_en.json is the file that you need to modify. Yesterday, I had a whole lot of trouble getting it to do that because I wanted to make the script that runs the creation of this add-on also edit that particular info file. And I was trying to use the script steps for open data file, write to data file, close data file. But FileMaker Pro tells you that these files are locked or in use. I made a discovery yesterday when I called FileMaker support to ask how that can possibly be overcome. Their answer to me was, well, you know, that involves creating a FileMaker script, and we don't really know about programming, so you need to call a FileMaker developer. And of course, I said, I am a FileMaker developer, and I'm certified, but they apparently have something new going on at Claris now called office hours. So they made an appointment for me with a gentleman in the UK who spoke with me at 8 o'clock this morning. And he gave me a suggestion that I didn't think of yesterday, which is that if you can change the permissions of the add-on modules directory so that everything inside it would inherit those permissions, then perhaps FileMaker Pro would be able to write to it. I haven't been able to accomplish that yet. He suggested that I use my FileMaker server because FileMaker server is also, my FileMaker server installation also has a copy of FileMaker Pro running. So there, at least I'm able to use getinfo and change the permissions of things to the FM server user for the owner and the FMS admin user for the group. That would at least allow a FileMaker script to write those files, but not everybody who wants to use an add-on or create an add-on necessarily has FileMaker server running. So it would be a very awkward thing. And from now, the temporary workaround that I'm going to have to follow is that I'm going to be able to edit that info_en JSON file on my desktop where FileMaker Pro tolerates the thing. It's not in use, and then swap it afterward. My intention was to try to get it all done within one script, but I may have to give up on that. If I'm able to figure out how to do it, I'm going to do the same presentation at Full Access in August. So maybe I'll have some good news then. Um, when the add-on is showing up in FileMaker Pro in the add-ons tab of the inspector that's on the left side of the layout, it has the name of it and a description and who created it. By default, it always says that it was attributed to Claris at their web address. I need to change that, and I'm showing you an example of one of the Claris add-ons where they've been able to modify that text so that it has the name of it and a description and who created it. The list of tables and layouts and scripts, you don't get to control that. That's automatically appended to it. And bottom, I'm showing you my attempt at writing the JSON that will create what I want it to say. So I'm giving it a category of SMS messaging and a description. I just haven't completed that yet in order to show you it in actual performance. So that's all I have to show you with Keynote. And if I change the share so that I'm sharing my whole screen, I'll be able to show you. Actually, I'll just show you FileMaker. So here is the app that I've built. And as I showed you in the slides, it starts with this layout that has a tutorial that's illustrated for each of the subjects that you need to know about or may care about. For instance, if you want to use Postman, there's a reference to the Postman collection that you can use. There's an item on how to include links, how to use the insert from URL script step, and creating a log if you want to, and how you can get your registration for the 10-digit number you need. What you're looking at here, by the way, is one layout. If all of these objects were grouped, then I would be able to properly make the add-on. I have this little popover here suggesting that this icon is actually a link to a script, a button that drives a script, and it has a little description of what's going on there. But watch what happens if I go into layout mode and select everything and arrange it and make it a group. Go back into browse mode. Now when I hit this popover, it doesn't show me the text that I had put underneath it. So I have discovered another defect that occurs with the grouping. If I go to the settings, you'll see that I have filled in all the information that pertains to me so that I can actually run a text message for you today and demonstrate that. The API key and the account number and the my company EIN number I have using the concealed edit box just for privacy, because I know that this recording is going to be on YouTube and others should not have access to my account. I did include a list of all the international dialing codes so that if you were sending a text message anywhere in the world, you'd be able to know what dialing code to use as the prefix. And of course, they always need the plus sign in front of it. And I also included that list of mobile phone carriers that I talked about if you want to experiment with the idea that I've given you about how you can use the send mail script step. So if I go back to the home, you know what? I probably should change the share so that it's sharing my screen, because if I want to show you the debugger running a script, we'll need to see my whole desktop. So this button is used for creating an outgoing text message. And I'm going to go through it with the debugger step by step. In case you have any questions, you can stop me. This particular script is commented pretty well, but I've also included in Script Workspace a similar script that I call abbreviated, where it has none of the comments and instructions and other things that are in the one that's going to be running. So the first thing I've done is I've provided a description of what's going on, what this is all about. And then it's checking to make sure that in my settings, everything that's necessary is there. So if none of those things are empty, it'll skip that. And then it's setting my username and my API key, which is taken from the settings. Then it's setting a UUID that will apply to the message that gets sent. And here I'm putting up a custom dialog so that somebody can actually write the message. So if my message is going to be, let's say, hi, Ron, thanks for inviting me to present today. And I knew in advance that I was going to need this, so I have Ron's mobile number. Put that out of the way so that Ron doesn't get phone calls from YouTube viewers.
Yeah, I'm gonna get spammed by the millions and millions of
right.
viewers.
And the subject is going to be Kentucky. Well, actually, you spell it IANA user group. And we'll click OK on that. And as long as it hasn't been canceled, it'll go on. Now it's setting the number by prefixing it with the +1 and setting the URL for click send. This is the root of the URL. And then it's setting in with base64 encoding my API key and my username. And then it gives me the opportunity to add a link. So here I'll insert a link and I'll put in the link to your user group. And then it's going to create the body. And then it's going to insert the link if I've created one. And it's doing that in the variable that's called data. I'll show you that later on. And then it's creating the payload that's going to be included in the curl. And then it's creating the curl, committing the record, and then it just runs insert from URL. So if there's a result, it goes to a new window, which is going to the messages table, showing all records, showing omitted only, and creating a new one in a form view. And it's setting all the fields that it needs based on what you have created before. So you can see on the right-hand side, it's got the timestamp of right now. It's got the phone number and the message to Ron with a link. And then it exits the script. So, Ron, if you check your messages, you'll see that you got it.
I hate to say it, but I'm not seeing it.
Well, here's one that I sent to myself before the meeting today just to test. And I made it hello KYFMP group. And the link that I put in was to Claris. So if I click on that, it'll just open up a web page to Claris. It may take a few seconds for you, Ron. So
yeah, I'll keep an eye on it, see if it just as a lag, and see if it'll come through.
So if I go to the script now, I can drill into some of the things that I just went through very quickly. The URL is just the root of clicksend.com. And the authorization is the base64 encoding of my username and the API key. And then came this dialog, and the body is very simple. It's the variable for the body and the link if there is one. And here is the variable for the message data. This is the only piece of JSON that you need. And the thing that made this work for me was that the people at ClickSend, who, by the way, they are wonderful. if I go to their website, and I will to show you what they have there, in their chat, any chat message that they come back to you from their AI feature says, you type something, I don't remember what it is word for word, and they'll bring a live agent on. And they do. And the live agent speaks fluent English and is friendly, and it's immediate, and they're authoritative. And the guy that I spoke to back in, I guess it was in August, told me that he showed me a script that he got from a developer in the UK. And it had this one line that I did not know about on my own. You just have to have a JSON element that is called, where the key is called source, and it says alpha tag from ClickSend. I don't know why that made it work, but that's what made it. And then the curl is real simple. It's just your authorization. The content is application/JSON, and then the data element. And then the record was committed. And then when you're submitting it with insert from URL, we'll go to their website now, and I'll show you the rest of what's needed. Here's my browser. And we'll go to clicksend.com. And so this morning I started a chat, and some guy named Dave came on, and I told him to leave this window open because I was going to be showing it in the Zoom meeting. So we'll just chat back with him and say thanks. Here I am. If I log in, it'll be up in a moment.
The
On
message
my
just,
dashboard. Yeah.
Dennis, the message just came through.
Oh, good. Good.
So,
the dashboard tells me right up at the top that I have a balance of $18.89. The way their pricing works is the more funds that you deposit into it, the lower your per message rate is. So right now I'm at their most expensive because I think well, first of all, you can see I only have $20 in there, but if I was to add, I don't know, $30, $40, $50, I wouldn't get the same good rate that I would get if I added funds for 100,000 messages. I'll show you the pricing as we go through it. When you go to the automation, there are simple instructions. You can put in a list of contacts. You can actually send your messages from their website. So that doesn't appeal to what I'm trying to do, which is to show how we integrate with FileMaker. But at least if I was to look at the messages that were sent, you would see the one that I sent to Ron. Here's a real simple way that you can send a message to somebody. It's already got your stored number. And if you wanted to send MMS messages, they can also have a subject. And then for integrations, they've got a whole set of instructions that make it real easy. Thinking of what else there might be. If I go to my user account, it tells me my account number, my profile, if I wanted to change my password. If I go to the account settings, this is where I have my API key, and all you have to do is click to copy it, put it into FileMaker, your email address, and your own phone number if you were sending a message to yourself. The messaging settings are real simple. In case you want to build webhooks, you would refer to these. On the billing, let's see what they say. Okay, so if I top up with $50, I'm going to get a lower rate than if I only top up with $20. But here you can see we can top up $100, $1,000, or $2,000. The most you would ever have to put in to get their lowest rate of 9.4 cents for an SMS is actually that's 0.94 cents. would be $2,000. So I happen to have one client here in Denver who's using this actively. They send out about 200 a day, and they love it ever since I put it into their FileMaker database. History probably shows me my list. So here's the one that went to Ron. If something was received, it'll update and let you know, actually, because I'm the one who received that. It's nothing to click into. You just see it in a chronological list. And the last thing is that I've given you this reseller code, which I don't know if it'll show up, but yes, here's another thing I should have mentioned in the beginning. When you start out for free, you get 14 days and $2 of their money to play with, which I found to be wonderful compared to Twilio, who I consider to be a pickpocket. So at that point, I guess if anybody has questions, this is a good time for it.